Hello listeners, in this recording I'm going to read out an email I got from a Lepster called Keiko, who was a competitor in the LEP competition. Keiko spoke about a survey she conducted with over 300 participants to work out if people could identify my face by listening to my voice. I asked Keiko to tell us what happened, and thankfully she wrote me an email with all the details. So now I'm going to read out Keiko's email. I hope that you find it interesting. So here we go. Hello Luke, thank you very much for the wonderful podcast. This is Keiko from Japan. I applied for the LEP competition. In my recording, I talked about a survey to find out if people could tell your appearance by listening to your voice. I'd like to tell you the details and results of the survey in this email. As I mentioned in my recording, I let people listen to your podcast for a couple of minutes, showed them photos of 5 handsome men, then let them guess who was actually talking on the podcast. It was a sort of Who is the Real Luke quiz. First, I would like to tell you about the 5 handsome men in the photos. The first was, of course, yours, Luke. You are handsome in every way. Your appearance, as well as your warm and fun personality. And this survey would have been nonsense if I hadn't used your photo. Very nice, thank you. Then comes Paul Taylor. He is a joyful and funny, handsome man, and well known to Lepsters. I couldn't miss having David Crystal's photo. He is a handsome man with intelligence and elegance which he cannot hide. He's also well known and highly respected amongst Lepsters. For the next one, I used a photo of Tim Mish. You may already know his name or music, but let me introduce him just in case. He's a British musician. His music, guitar, voice and appearance are all great. Yes, I am a big fan of his, and I listen to him just for my own personal reasons. The last photo is of the actor Gerard Butler. I used his photo because I guessed you would look like him when I first listened to your podcast. Yes, I imagined you as an older and bigger man, as many of your listeners have also imagined. For this survey, 303 people participated. This number is far more than I thought I could have had. It's hugely thanks to my son's English teacher, Mr. Reed, who conducted the survey in 10 classrooms he teaches. So most of those who answered were high school students. Mr. Reed said that some of them knew your podcast but not your appearance. So the survey was conducted fairly, I would say. Here are the results. 155 people, 51%, said it was you talking. About half of them thought it was you, but the rest thought it was not you. Okay, so 51%. That does count as a majority. I don't know if there's a specific restriction on what can be considered a majority, but I think that's a majority of people. Next was 59 people, that's 19%, said it was Paul. And Keiko says, my sister thought it was Paul talking, by the way. 46 people, that's 15%, said it was David Crystal. This number is higher than I expected. 5 people, that's 2%, said it was Tom Mish. He is the youngest among 5 handsome men. Maybe that's the reason he didn't have many votes. Yeah, it must be difficult if you are the youngest among 5 handsome men. Because you'd be thinking, I am handsome, I'm a handsome man, but I'm not as, and these guys are handsome men too, but I'm younger than them, so what chance do I have? Is probably what he was thinking. And then 38 people, that's 13%, said it was Gerard Butler. Some of the people must have known him and his name, so the number is lower, I suppose. And Keiko continues, so what do you think of the results? And what do you think of my taste for handsome men? And she says they all happen to be British. It's excellent, right? By the way, my son's teacher, Mr. Reed, who helped me to do this survey, is a kind and handsome gentleman from the United States. There are handsome men around the world. All around the world. There are handsome men all around the world. I guess there are. As to the results, says Keiko, the biggest surprise for me was that many people guessed it was David Crystal. Yes. Weird. Imagine that. They listen to my voice and they see the face of David Crystal. And if you don't know what David Crystal looks like, just imagine sort of like a sort of Father Christmas, something like that. Father Christmas, but he's really good at linguistics, that sort of thing. And he's jolly as well, and, generous. I think it sort of fits. I don't know. Anyway, Keiko was surprised that David Crystal was in there too, that many people thought it was him. And she says, it was very interesting and fun to plan, conduct and get the results of the survey. I could not have experienced this without the competition and the support by people who helped me do the survey. I would like to thank you and thank them for this opportunity. It would be my pleasure if you find my survey and the results interesting. If you have any questions, I would be so happy to answer. And she says, thank you so much again for the fun and wonderful podcast. I always listen to your podcast as you are talking to me like my friend. I'm sure that a lot of listeners feel that way. By the way, I was the one who asked you the question about what you had for lunch when you did a YouTube live stream last year. Oh, that was a great question. It's always a good one. What did you have for lunch? And you get to talk about how you cooked the food. Hey, whoops, nearly dropped my microphone there in all the excitement. You get to talk about how you cook your food, and I ended up talking about how I cook rice. And Keiko said, yes, I was so happy to have my question read and answered so kindly about how you cooked the rice. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that as well. The world is still in a strange situation because of the pandemic. Please do take care. I wish you and your family safety, health and joy. Thank you very much as always. Warmest regards, Keiko. Well, that was Keiko's email. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you so much, Keiko, for sharing the results of this fairly extensive survey. And it seems that 51% of people seem to be able to get it right. But there you go. Listeners, dear listeners, I wonder what you thought I looked like when you first listened to my podcast. The first time you heard my voice speaking on the podcast, what did you think I looked like? Were you surprised when you eventually discovered my actual face or not? Tell me what you thought I looked like when you listened to this podcast for the first time. Let us know in the comments section. But for now, it's time to say goodbye. Bye, 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 bye.